Recently I was thinking about reading, like in general. It just feels like reading as a whole has gotten pretty damn hard. There's so much other stuff to do. Anime is more accessible than ever. YouTube and Twitch constantly pump out content. Instagram Reels and TikTok algorithms feel like they get stronger every day. I can just feel it all eating away at my reading time. I've gone from finishing like at least 3 books a week to taking 2 whole weeks just to finish one. And I'm a reading goblin. Like I love reading. I've been reading my whole life. So this made me think if I'm struggling, I can only imagine how people that don't have those reading habits formed are faring. Unfortunately, I don't have a one stop solution for reading more, aside from the typical advice of making it a habit and reading what you enjoy. I am, however, well versed in a particular book category that I do think is one of the easiest starting points into working out your reading muscles, that being light novels, of course. Light novels have 3 key strengths, in my opinion, that make them great reading practice. The first is the difficulty level. Light novels, all in all, don't really go for super complicated language, so it's usually a safe bet that whatever light novel you happen to pick up, regardless of genre, will be at a similar difficulty level. Meaning, if you jump from romance to sci-fi to fantasy, you won't have a difficult time adapting to the differences in writing styles. Of course, this isn't to disparage light novel writers. There's lots of fantastic ones. The majority just happen to choose a concise and potent writing style over a flowery and abstract one. The second strength is longevity. Some people struggle with reading because of the fear of constantly having to find good books to read. Regular books are almost always just the one, book. And even stuff in the fantasy and sci-fi genre tend to end within the range of 3 to 6 volumes. Light novels are over 12 volumes on average, and popular works like Re:Zero, Mushoku Tensei, the Monogatari series, Classroom of the Elite, and Sword Art Online are well over 20 volumes and counting. This means that all you have to do is find that one series you like and you'll be set. Even if you end up reading a volume a month, if the series has 12 volumes, well, you just finished 12 books in a year. Or you can employ my personal strategy, which is to pick up one really, really hard book and then not read it and then burn through a bunch of light novels to feel good about the fact that you didn't finish the one really hard book. Yeah, I'm never gonna finish Gravity's Rainbow. The third and final strength is that it's anime, but with words. That sounds kind of dumb, but I really do mean it. If you're an anime fan, you're probably gonna be a lot more adaptable to the tropes and cliches of light novels. You probably already watched anime adaptations of light novels without realizing it. So reading the right light novel could potentially feel just like watching an anime. They're different mediums, but you get what I mean. Once you get into that flow state, it doesn't matter if you're reading it or watching it. You're going to enjoy it all the same. So, without further ado, here are some light novel recommendations to get you into reading. That's the perspective I'm recommending them from. Is this something somebody who doesn't really read would be able to pick up and enjoy, right? It goes from easiest to hardest, but just to be clear, I'm not talking about reading comprehension, right? I'm not reading about the difficulty level in the words. It's more so about the level of engagement. So, easy is if you just want something to turn your brain off, right? If you really don't it's just not a thing for you to read, but you kind of want to try it, these are for you. On hard mode, it's like maybe you read here and there, right? Like the hard level is like maybe you read here and there, and you want something that will force you to lock in. And of course, the medium difficulty is a mix of the two. Let's get started. So first is Reincarnated as a Slime, about a dude that gets reincarnated as a slime, obviously. This one's a great starting point for both fantasy and isekai. Slime focuses way more in its power systems, so if you just want to check out a fantasy light novel that has magic at its core but doesn't particularly have super heavy lore, Slime is perfect. It also usually wraps the main conflict of each volume by the end of said volume, so there's very low stakes to starting it. I would recommend this if you're somebody who enjoys magic and magic-focused power systems but don't want to get bogged down in all the lore and stuff, right? It's basically just about power scaling. The power scaling goes off the deep end pretty quickly, so it's a fun, low-stakes action adventure story. And number 2, we got Tear Moon Empire, about a little girl that gets the guillotine. She gets her head chopped clean off, but then loops back in time to fix her wrongs before it's too late. This series has one of the more likable protagonists of the bunch, that being Mia. She's a lovable idiot. She literally fails her way upwards the entire time. Most people think she's 10 steps ahead when she's really 30 steps behind and counting. Things just happen to always work out in her favor, which leads people to believe she's some kind of genius. But don't let the wacky premise fool you. There's a little bit of a political thriller in there, right? If it weren't for the fact that Mia sucks all the tension out of the room, that is. If you like Konosuba or Eminence in Shadow or Mr. Bean's Holiday Adventure or whatever, right? Any comedy with a misunderstood protagonist, then I think this one's for you. At number 2, we got or sorry. At number 3, we got Sabikui Bisco. This one's about two dudes that are totally not gay for each other, having to work together in a decrepit desert steampunk setting against Shonen Jump villains. And that's it. That's it. Like, if you like Shonen Jump stuff or really just Shonen in general, I'm talking about stuff like Gachikuta and Soul Eater and all that hubbub, then just go read this. It's a little weirder than those, but not by much, right? And I know it sounds like I'm kind of disparaging it a little bit, but don't get it wrong. Like, it's great. It's super creative. It's super fun. But yeah, at the end of the day, it is a type of setting you would see in Shonen Jump. So I can't necessarily lie about that. At number 4, we have My Friend's Little Sister Has It In For Me. It's a crazy title. I know, but don't worry. It's like a 1-year age gap. It's not that bad. The series follows a snarky high school game developer and his dealings and shenanigans with his best friend's little sister. This is a good starter romance light novel, and in my opinion, because it has the typical token, cute but annoying anime girl, while also juggling some heavier, dramatic, and introspective elements that are only really possible in light novels, given that you get more time to stew on our protagonist's monologues. The dialogue is on point too. Like, this is one of a few romance light novels where you can actually feel the chemistry of the main couple just off the witty, funny conversations they have together. So yeah, a little bit of slice of life, a little bit of comedy, and a little bit of drama. Moving on to the medium difficulty, I'm gonna start with Sadagoto. Sadagoto is autistic, edgy Sherlock Holmes, but like in a good way. I'm not saying it in a negative sense, right? It's very meta, lots of commenting on the nature of mystery novels. The protagonist is off kilter, he's a little weird, potentially a serial killer, but probably not, who knows? You gotta keep reading to find that out. But more importantly, it's some damn good mystery. If you want a mystery series that's a little weird, but that will definitely have an interesting solution to the mysteries it presents, then Sadagoto is for you. At number 2, we have A Certain Magical Index. This is if you just want a bonkers power system. Whereas Slime has a little bit of like a light novel power system and a Shonen Jump power system mixed, Index just full censored all the way on the light novel angle. Like, this is one of the earlier light novels, so that makes sense. You get a lot of weird powers that are easier to describe than to show. There's also a lot of extra stuff to chew on, like magic and sci-fi coexisting, different factions, different enemies. Not to mention the protagonist has one of the more interesting powers out there, which is to nullify any power out there, regardless of whether it's magic or science, but only if he touches it directly with a specific hand. So that gives for some interesting scenarios on a novel to novel basis. It's also super long running, so if you want something that's a little laid back but that gets intense every now and then, but that is also like, you know, you're not gonna run out of it anytime soon, I think Index is a very strong recommendation on my part. At number 3, we have Overlord. For a more fleshed out, slow burn fantasy. If you don't want the video gamey fantasy of Slime, Overlord has more of a Western fantasy tinge to it. It's not Tolkien, but it's a lot more grounded in its lore, in its monster types and all that. A little bit of Dark Souls here and there, a little bit of Dungeons and Dragons, a little bit of old school MMORPGs. The protagonist Ainz is also in more of a gray area than is usual for light novel protagonists. You're not sure how many of his shenanigans you can justify up until he crosses your personal moral line. For me, that wasn't until volume 7. If you know, you know. But yeah, if you want something that is still fantasy and that is still on that kind of like overpowered protagonist side, but that it takes itself a little more seriously, because obviously Slime doesn't, then I think Overlord is a good counterpart to that. The Ryu's work is Never Done is our final selection in the medium difficulty category. This is a sports series about a shogi prodigy teaching an even better shogi prodigy. Like, and if you don't know what shogi is, that's Japanese chess. So yeah, it sounds a little wacky of a premise, right? But I mean, don't get it twisted. The series balances sports, drama, and romance pretty seamlessly. It has a large ensemble cast, all with their personal stories to tell, and it focuses and showcases the struggles of women in shogi, which has historically been a male-dominated sport, pretty damn well. Like, I was surprised when I read this. The author has a lot of empathy to give to female shogi players. If you want to widen your scope from average romances to an ensemble cast drama, romance, sports thriller, and you got the patience to get to like I don't remember at what volume it ended, maybe like 18 or something, but if you want to see a satisfying conclusion to a sports, drama, romance, thriller, whatever, then I think the Ryu's work is Never Done is for you. It's definitely one of the more unique light novels. If you want to kind of flex on people and be like, oh yeah, no, Overlord, oh, Slime, oh yeah, well, have you ever read the Ryu's work is Never Done? And then they're gonna look at the cover and they're gonna be like, no, dude, it looks weird. But it's a good series. I promise it's a good series, guys. Give it a shot. It's awesome. Okay, finally, we come to the hard category, the hard difficulty category. or whatever. I don't know exactly how to say it. But anyways, let's start with Oregairu. Oregairu is about an introverted dude that somehow gets two beautiful women to like him. Where have I heard that before, right? Story of my life. Am I right, guys? Am I right? I think this is the most cutthroat love triangle in all of light novels, and maybe even romance anime in general. Like, regardless of who your personal best girl is, every time the other one gets screwed over, you can feel your heart being ripped out from within you. Like, it got to the point for me where I wished Hachiman just would have never entered their lives, personally, right? Like, I was just like, I wish this dude had just left these girls alone, honestly. If you want something that's most likely gonna tempt you to binge the whole thing in one go just so you can see who wins, then this is definitely for you. After that, we have Saga of Tanya the Evil, which is about a sociopath salaryman that gets reincarnated as a little girl and thrown into the cogs of war. Want something that's gonna test your reading endurance? Read Tanya. Not because it's abstract, mind you, but because it's ridiculously descriptive. Like 80% of the book is geopolitics and military strategy. And the entire thing is blanketed with Tanya's incessant and tedious dialogue. Yeah, she's evil because she forces us to sit there and listen to her complaints for 300 to 500 pages at a time. You feel like you were just at war after you finish one of these volumes. At third, we got the Monogatari series, which follows Arararararagi, a 1/8 vampire teenager that runs into supernatural problems that require very human solutions. This mostly because the supernatural problems are usually tied to deeply troubled teenage girls that need way more than a BetterHelp discount to get out of their slumps. Whereas Tanya tests your endurance, Monogatari is going to test your comprehension. Lots of references to anime you never heard of, characters that speak in riddles you might never get the answer to, and solutions to problems that aren't immediately obvious unless you seriously consider the people involved and their purpose. Whereas Sadagoto presents an abstract puzzle to solve, Monogatari's characters are the abstract puzzle, depending on the volume, of course. And yeah, I guess I forgot to mention, but Sadagoto and Monogatari, same author, Nishio Isin, great light novel writer, right? And finally, maybe not a surprise if you follow this channel, but my final recommendation is going to be Ascendance of a Bookworm, which is about Mina, a girl that gets reincarnated in a magical medieval Europe and is so autistically in love with books, she starts an industrial revolution over it. If you're looking for an all-encompassing epic, this is the one. Bookworm has political drama, kingdom building, regular drama, intrigue, mystery, magic, treason, revenge, love triangles, a likable protagonist, a likable ensemble cast, and over 30 volumes to get through. It's in my top 3 light novels of all time, and the only reason it's not number 1 is because I haven't reread number 1. Who knows? It could be number 1, right? And a light novel that seriously made me reconsider like concept of storytelling as a whole. Like seriously, like I cannot imagine being able to organize and execute a series this way. Now, I am singing its praises, but I can't lie and say anyone can just jump in here and read this. I'd mainly recommend this if you're someone that loves trying to keep track of a bunch of different story threads. The story is broken into 5 parts and sets story threads double, triple, and quadruple in quantity the more you read along. If you love waiting a long time for a very small detail to pay off big time, then I'd say this series is for you. It rewards you when you pay attention to the details, basically. And yeah, there we go. I mean, that's it. I don't know, guys. I don't know if I did a good job. If I didn't get to do a good job, if you try these and you don't enjoy it and you don't read, then I'm sorry that I failed at my job and I'm going to feel very guilty about it or whatever. But hopefully you don't. Hopefully you do actually read some of these and it motivates you, etc., etc., etc. If I had any personal advice to get into reading, especially when we're talking about light novels, it's to never forget about it, basically, right? So let's say you buy a volume of any of these or you pirate it. I don't personally care. It doesn't matter to me, right? As long as you propose to yourself, okay, I'll log in and read a little bit of it this time. That's enough, because guess what? A little bit of it will eventually turn once you get into a group, will turn into a lot of it and will eventually turn into you binging entire volumes at a time, right? That's once you get practice, that's what's going to happen, especially if you find a series you are legitimately engaging with, right? Because that happens to me, like for Bookworm, which I just talked about. I remember when I started reading it, part 1's a little slow, so I was taking my time. As soon as I started getting good, I found myself binging like 2 volumes a day sometimes, 3 volumes a day sometimes, because I wasn't employed. I had nothing else to do it by the way. But yeah, I don't know. I was just kind of rambling. I hope this list was useful. And if it wasn't, then I'm sorry. I'll be available in the comments. If you guys have any questions, concerns. Yeah, later.